So the openly Christian horror YouTuber Wendigoon recently had a 34-minute exposed segment made on him in a longer video about bad conservative horror movies where he got outed for being conservative by this YouTuber called In Praise of Shadows.
So what if he's a conservative? Is that a problem? Which, the answer to that is yes.
One of the ways In Praise of Shadows outed Wendigoon as a conservative was by showing people on Twitter he didn't like who Wendigoon followed, with one of those people he complained about being Brandon Buckingham, who posted a clip to Twitter of what he said and captioned it by saying, "In a desperate attempt to make Wendigoon look bad for being friends with me, this overweight loser described me as a gun YouTuber who's been accused of threatening R***E.
He is friends with Brandon Buckingham, a gun YouTuber who has been accused of threatening rape.
Brandon continues his thread by saying, "Hey, praise Shadows. Going through every one of Wendigoon's friends and insulting them to try and paint him in a bad light makes you seem like a desperate and pathetic freak. You seem like you have low testosterone. It could be making you moody. Try exercising and shooting guns. Also, using a photo of my grandpa after his brain injury is super cool of you. You seem like a great guy. I want to shake your hand, praise Shadows." Donut Operator responds, "Yo, since when are you a gun YouTuber, lol?" Brandon responds, "Since the day we shook hands, Donut. Thanks for welcoming me to the GunTuber crew, lol." Willie Mac Show says, "Oh my god, he did not just say the Sneeko line." Sensitive Society says, "People that look like that always have the dumbest opinions possible." Stars and Tigers says, "I think it's hilarious that Wendigoon has to pretend to not be right wing to appease people like that, lol." Kristen Art quote tweets Brandon and says, "What is with all the bread tubers with mustaches like these that fucking suck as human beings?" SSG Terry quote tweets Brandon and says, "Lefty video essay YouTube never really gets called out for what it is, which is to say, a poorly concealed front for kicking off smear campaigns. It's all a game of what public figure can I call problematic to become popular. Any atom of controversy will do." Daka Daka quote tweets Brandon and says, "They hate Wendigoon because he is openly Christian. It's not even a spicy fundamentalist Baptist. That's how much they hate God's elect." Possum Reviews quote tweets Brandon and says, "Why is Wendigoon hated by so many people with necks as thick as my thumb? I'm serious. What is the controversy around Wendigoon? What has he done that made so many people want to just make up shit about him?" A no-name ex-worker responds, "My theory? Because he's religious, owns guns, and has a happy and successful life without having to go at other people on the internet." Garlic Bread says, "You know why. Same reason as PewDiePie. Happy and accomplished people with very obvious right-wing beliefs are very effective at making normies/apoliticals notice that those beliefs produce better, happier people, precisely because they don't even try to convince anyone. Show, don't tell." Not Carrie says, "It became popular to hate on him when they found out he is a mild conservative. That's literally it." They then show a tweet from someone called Kooky Weed that was posted on May 12th of last year and says, "I just thought Wendigoon was an incel. I didn't realize he was a full-blown neo-Nazi who loves Kyle Rittenhouse. Like now, I'm genuinely scared shitless of what he might do." Another person who got mentioned in Shadow's video was Mudahar of the Some Ordinary Gamers channel. He posted the clip of what Shadow said and captions it by saying, "It's hilarious how bad faith commies are on the internet. Not ever looking into the content I've made going over case documentation about Andrew Tate and shedding light on his bad behavior, or looking past the thumbnail for damning evidence I've presented in a video."
He is friends with Oompaville, a gun-obsessed content creator that has taken advantage of Nakado Avocado's mental decline for fame and for money, and on top of that has made content with the human trafficker Andrew Tate. He is friends with Mudahar, who argued against Andrew Tate being deplatformed from social media websites, and has recently showcased a great deal of transphobia in his most recent video.
Brandon Buckingham responds to Muda by saying, "In the beginning of this guy's video, he complains about how he's been misrepresented, and it's essentially ruined his life. Then he turns around and misrepresents a dozen people." Meme Bastard says, "You should look into what bad faith things communists have done when given power." Andrew Mercado says, "Why does he sound AI generated, laughing my ass off?" Donut Operator shares out this clip from Shadow's video and says, "Ha ha 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 ha, you fucking nerd."
And my wife, Donut Operator. You know, the ex-cop who makes death content. The Wendigoon shared a picture of the two of them hugging not long after this. Can be found in the comments of this post asking if Wendigoon wants him to start killing people who said that he was right-wing.
Zach Shutt responds by saying, no offense, but it sounds like some fucking commie garbledygook. Angry Cop says, oh no, we caught them hugging. DG says, Wendigoon is friends with a guy who made fun of a pedophile who was rightfully shot. The absolute horror! Maybe we should check your hard drive.
And retired. His content is very pro-state, pro-cop, pro-gun, and pro-death to people who don't share his beliefs propaganda. For example, one of his videos is titled, Predator Takes Shotgun to the Face, and features a picture of him smiling in the corner of the thumbnail next to an image of a terrified man about to be executed by cops, with the text that reads, head removal.
Hi everyone, Donut here. We got a couple of shootings for you today. The main shooting just warms my heart.
And you know, for someone who supposedly is so very anti-government, Wendigoon seems very comfortable with a man who makes his living worshipping violence committed by the state. He's a man of no conviction, claiming to be very against the government and for the rights of the people, while at the same time giving a warm embrace to one of the biggest fascist bootlickers on the internet.
CC7 says, what's up with leftists getting very defensive in the behalf of pedophiles? Keelix says, hates the person because he kills a pedophile. Every time! Gracie shares the tweets that Praise of Shadows has been liking on Twitter and captions it by saying, in Praise of Shadows is liking tweets praising him for attacking Wendigoon. None of his criticisms are backed with concrete evidence. Zippity Zap responds by saying, such a cruel person, to which Gracie responds, I can tell he's extremely bitter about his lack of success, and is targeting Wendigoon in hopes of clout. Azu shares a clip from Shadow's video and says, this new In Praise of Shadows video is genuinely horrible. Dude spends over half an hour trying to imply that Wendigoon is a far-right fascist, and his examples are shit like this. You literally cannot make it up, lol.
Wendigoon is publicly friends with Brandon Herrera, who has made jokes that implied that he was sympathetic with public shooters who killed leftists, and collaborated with Kyle Rittenhouse, who has posted images of himself with an MP40, which is a gun used by the Nazis.
Donut Operator responds by saying, MP40 is quite possibly the funnest gun to shoot, and I love it. Reagan says, Brandon Hira is commonly known as the AK guy, and has claimed the gun is his favorite. Does that make him a communist? No, of course not. Drow Slayer says, if you ever shot a lugger, you were a Nazi? Jesus Crust says, bro really did a Hitler drank water level accusations. Strawberry Narwhal quote tweets Azu and says, if you have to peel back this many layers for your guilt by association, you should just drop it. Man didn't even do Hitler drank water. This is guy is friendly to a guy who interviewed another guy, and they drank water just like Nazis. History Varek tweets out a clip from a different In Praise of Shadows video and says, the guy currently trying to shit on Wendigoon literally said that the inbred cannibals in The Hills Have Eyes are representing Native Americans or black people because white people.
The Hill people can be representative of anything that you want them to be, really. They can be Native Americans, and the hills themselves can be allegorical of them being forced back onto reservations. They can be Black Americans that have for hundreds of years been forced to live within a dehumanizing system that has balances in place that assure that they never get ahead. They can be anyone who has been a victim of hundreds of years of horrifically violent, white, wealthy, educated progress.
Dr. Valance says, the Hill people are literally radioactive mutant incest monsters, and he immediately thinks, these must be minorities. I don't know if this is worse than the orcs equals blacks or not. History Varek responds, breadtubers are unironically some of the most racist people out there. So after people found out about this video from Praise of Shadows, they went over to his Twitter to reply under his tweet promoting the video, like Daily Roman Updates who says, you fucking dork laughing my ass off. Lex Absurdum says, do you think you're a good person? Hexlarious Comedian says, are you legitimately not deeply embarrassed that the conclusion of your video is that normal people enjoying horror is a danger to you and your goals, because you cannot divorce anything about yourself from an ideology you were peer pressured into. Hexlarious Comedian also tweets out this clip from Shadow's video and says, I can't believe my gay sex chart was used for evil. It's one thing to go after Wendigoon, but pro-bottom propaganda?
We could talk about another time where someone made a YouTuber gay sex alignment chart and put Wendigoon as a sub-bottom, to which he responded to them and said, what did I do to hurt you? Which, you know, clearly is a joke, but also the worst kinds of straight guys when they make jokes related to queerness, almost exclusively direct the punchline at femme gays and bottoms, because they view them as lesser than masculine tops.
WinowJ563 quote tweets praise of Shadow and says, "Boo! Did I scare you? I'm a job application." Calburn quote tweets praise of Shadows with the picture of Wendigoon inserted into this image where it labels him as a normal guy next to the cartoon man thinking, "I loathe every person I see on the street. Look at that stupid asshole." Girl named File quote tweets praise of Shadow with the box art from the video game Doom and says, "Criticizing Wendigoon online will have you like this for real. Like they really think that white boy is their dad." Itzel responds by saying, "In praise of Shadows is an awesome guy with great videos. So sad to see so many people getting red to the face and spitting out of being so mad he just critiqued the dude. Nobody's worth meat riding that bad." Girl named File responds, "For real! They are riding on his shit like it's Noah's Ark and the flood is coming. You're read this wrong, or you're read this wrong, I get what you did there," says, "Be generally nice guy. Soft spoken. Religious but doesn't let it come off as overbearing or preachy. Generally respectful of all walks of life. YouTuber slams him for who he hangs out with. Implies he's some sort of shitbag. Whoa. What the heck? Why are people upset?" The Jakrimbru says, "Damn, this dude just went, hey, just so you know, Wendigoon has some pretty weird political beliefs, and associates himself with some scummy people, and basically everybody is coming for his head for it. Just because you like some YouTuber doesn't make them immune from criticism. Someone legit said that he hopes he gets evicted and starves, all because he criticized Wendigoon." He then shows this tweet from Tanner who says, "You're a sniveling, spineless worm. I hope you get what's coming to you. In fact, I hope you don't make rent, or get enough to have food this month." The cultist quote tweets him and says, "Damn, that's crazy. Anyway, here's in praise of Shadows saying Wendigoon shouldn't be allowed in public."
Yes, but the reason that I care is because this does not belong in horror, or anywhere. I care deeply about horror, and everything that he does has demonstrated so far in his career that he should not be welcomed in our spaces, or even, just in public.
Carlos Garcia says, "But he didn't do that the contrarian, he lied and misinformationed many times, like saying the MP40 is a Nazi gun. That's not criticism, that's slander." Deliveryman12 says, "Pretty weird political beliefs. The guy is just a Christian, lol." The Gatheist263 says, "His closing statement was that Wendigoon shouldn't be allowed in polite society because he is a clear danger to everyone around him. That's a cute synopsis, though." The Jakrimbo responds, "I mean, if you associate yourself with terrible people, you shouldn't be paraded around the horror community as this wholesome, unproblematic being." Dane says, "Huh? He shouldn't be allowed outside and this is your response?" Jakrimbo responds, "Damn, he said that? Based." The Una Butters says, "At least say this up front and not open with the pathetic, 'You guys, he just said some light criticism.'" Gross Little Goblin says, "You doing the meme." They then attach an image that says, "Step 1, it's not really happening. Step 2, yeah, it's happening. It's just not a big deal. Step 3, it's a good thing, actually." The leftist Owl After Hours says, "I think some of the arguments he makes against Wendigoon are a bit weird, but other than that, it's pretty solid. Wendigoon responded in the comments, but it comes across as a way of manipulating his audience into thinking he's kind, then an actual response." Seth Barton responds, "This." And it's another one of those little things that someone who's evangelical would have learned to do without even thinking about it. That's how that entire theology works, at least when it comes to American Protestant evangelicals. The leftist Owl responds, "Yeah." His response reads as, "I used to be bad, but I'm better now," instead of actually going through what he's accused of and clearing up what has changed or even delving into his own beliefs on the issues discussed. And speaking of that comment, Gracie shared it on Twitter with the caption, "Wendigoon once again proving that he is the GOAT and an honest, God-fearing man." The comment Wendigoon left on Shadow's video says, "Please, no one harass or comment rude things on my behalf. I do not agree with or condone meanness in any way. If you are here to leave a spiteful remark on my behalf, don't. Nothing good comes from anger. I want to apologize for people saying awful things to you on Twitter. I did not know this was happening, and I don't stand by that behavior. I followed you because I saw your Slenderman video, and enjoyed it. Then I saw you in my recommended follows. It sounds like you strongly dislike me, and that's okay. But if I have done anything to cause that, I apologize. If I have ever spoken against you without cause or made any joke at your expense, I am sorry. I did not follow you to harass you, but if that contributed in any way, lie, I wish I could take it back. You don't have to like me, but I hope you do not feel I have ill will against you. There is a lot you assumed incorrectly about me, but that's to be expected. I try to keep my life private in what ways I can, and my friends mentioned in the video can take up for themselves. I will only point out that your assertion about Brandon Buckingham is particularly egregious because the lie regarding a threat was made up by Sneeko when Brandon called him out on his behavior. I know you wouldn't support an internet figure like Sneeko, but you inadvertently did by not checking the source. I've made similar mistakes. Most YouTubers have at one point or the other, but harmful allegations spread when people parrot rather than decipher data. I have said things in the past that I do not agree with now, and I am learning to better myself daily, and each day find myself more in the wrong. I am sorry for the things I've said to bring hurt or strife to any person or people. May God forgive me. I hope you are successful. The Slenderman video was great, and I hope you don't find myself or my audience impeding your career. And again, if you are here to leave a mean comment for me, don't be. Mango responds by saying, "Holy fuck, he is such a sweetie." Gracie responds, "He seems like such a genuinely good person. Even if someone doesn't like his content, I don't know why you'd go out of your way to hate him." Abyssalass responds to Gracie by saying, "I do kinda wish he'd stop apologizing, but I do respect his willingness to forgive and show love." Gracie responds, "I get that. And to a certain extent, I agree. I think he apologizes for the right stuff, if the creator felt uncomfortable, but he makes it clear that he means no harm. I think it's to show a record of him trying to get along." Brandon Buckingham continues to tweet about this video when he shows this picture of Shadow and says, "This self-righteous breadtuber thinks if you are friends with internet historian, donut operator, shoe-on head, Oompaville, Mudahar, Garenthum, Turkey Tom, Brandon Herrera, or myself, then you are a bad person." Wavy responds, "The end portion of that video is a schizo post." Brandon Buckingham replies, "Be careful, Wavy. I'm a gun YouTuber. You don't want to be affiliated with an extremist like me. You might be labeled as a bad guy." Nicholas Diorio says, "Me being a bad person has nothing to do with us being friends." Sensitive Society says, "Guess I'm a bad person. It's so over." Butt Boob says, "Friend policing is so cringe." Oompaville says, "I forgot I did all that stuff." Semiquo says, "I hate this genre of man. The iDubbbz, Noah Samson, Curtis Connor, soft boy mullet archetype. I don't know who told them dress like that is attractive to women." Dead Domain mocks Brandon Buckingham by quote tweeting him and saying, "This guy thinks if you're friends with assholes, you're an asshole." Sable responds by saying, "Oompaville is bad person? Man." Dead Domain responds, "I feel like he's the outlier here." A Hanging Chad says, "If you sit down at the table with 9 Nazis, the table has 10 Nazis at it." Duke D. Vinny quote tweets Brandon and says, "All the people acting butthurt and pretending to be oblivious as the end is funny when In Praise of Shadows literally explained why those people might be bad, and why Wendigoon isn't the wholesome dad character he puts on. Yeah, blaming people due to guilt by association is pretty lame, but he gave some pretty reasonable arguments to why associating with some of those guys is bad. The beginning of the video feels so weird. It's 1 hour of him complaining about comments and saying they don't affect him. I get the part about people not understanding his The Hills Have Eyes video and him explaining it, but the video overall is messy. The whole thing would have ended better if he didn't make it one whole video. So people have this whole ass movie of content to take out of context, because most people wouldn't watch a horror dweeb complain about mean comments, corporatism, and bad analysis for 3 hours. Yeehaw responds, "Nah, Duke. I like you, Chief," but his explanation on Wendigoon is a reach at best, and at worst a blatant attack on his character for no discernible reason, outside guilt by previous association. Duke responds, "How is it a reach? The last hour is just presenting stuff Isaiah said and posted. The part about him talking about Isaiah's ancestry might be a reach because that's something only his family would know." Ivan DCC responds, "He said that every white person from the South is racist in the video, dude." The Village Plug responds, "Lol, no. He said in Apalachia, you have to assume white people are racist, unless they say or show otherwise. And that's 100% valid if you know anything about that region of the US. Ivan DCC responds, "No, that's not a valid statement, and it's deranged, saying every black person from Detroit is like this. It's an insane thing to say, and created by his own paranoia." The Village Plug responds, "Bro compared Detroit to Apalachia, dog. There are more than black people in Detroit. Wendigoon is probably the most ethnic person in that area, and it comes from ignorance more than hate. Ivan responds, and there are more white people where Wendigoon is from, so much so his grandpa is a native. Also, the point is not even the location, it's the generalization based on the location. How can you not get that? So after all of this discussion about Shadow's video on Twitter, he ended up making a Twitter thread responding to the situation, which I will cover in my next video, as well as deleted the 34-minute segment about Wendigoon from his bad conservative horror movies video. But luckily, before it went down, I did have a chance to react to it on live stream over on my other channel, Mayo Monkey. So while you wait for part 2, where we go over his response and the reaction to his response, you can go hear what I thought about all of this over there. And if you want to tell me what you thought about all of this, don't hesitate to leave a comment below. But with all that being said, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in another video.